Welcome to Module 2. Now in this module we're going to be dealing with workflow. So we'll start with introducing the tools of the trade. The tools of the trade for any composer are sample libraries, either for putting together a mock-up or for producing a polished piece of music. When it comes to sample libraries, it often feels like you're walking into an endless toy shop, each one making you feel like you won't be successful without them and that each one will make your writing better just by using it. And to an extent, that can be true. It makes your writing sound better in some instances, but do not get caught into the trap of thinking that the sample libraries are magic bullets that will solve all of your problems. Yes, they're wonderful to have, but at the end of the day, they are tools that you use to get your ideas across. Whether it's just a simple freebie that you get off the internet, or whether it's the most expensive orchestral sample library, the important part is whatever communicates your idea in the most accurate way. I thought I would just show you some of the sample libraries that I think are amazing and show you some of your options if you want to invest. I mean, you may already have these, but hopefully I'll give you some ideas. Like I said, the lists are endless and always growing, so it does help to think about what you will actually use and need. I've bought many sample libraries that I don't actually use just because I saw them coming out and I watched some walkthroughs and I thought, oh man, they sound amazing. And then I bought them and I thought, oh, well, actually, I don't actually use these. So that was a waste of money. That's why I've divided the libraries into sections to act as a filter. First of all, we are starting with bass. Now, I'm only showing you one because, to be honest with you, if you get this Spectrasonics Trillion, it's the only bass you'll ever need. It is literally amazing. I'm not going to do any walkthroughs with any of these sample libraries because you can check these out online. Go onto YouTube, just type in Spectrasonics Trillion walkthrough, and the same for all of the other sample libraries. But this one is truly fantastic, whether you're looking for realistic upright bass, acoustic bass, synths, it's just fantastic. It just covers everything, and particularly the trailer bass sound that you want. Next up, Epic Drums. Now this list is huge, so I've tried to narrow it down. What we have Heaviosity Damage. Now I think if you're going to purchase one drum library, this is the one to get for trailer music, Heaviosity Damage, because it covers ethnic instruments right through to those mangled, distorted trailer hits that you hear all the time. They are fantastic, and literally right out of the box you can make a trailer template just using these hits. Next up, my favourite sample library company is Spitfire Audio, and here I've got Hans Zimmer 01, which is literally all of Hans Zimmer's sounds you can imagine. It just sounds like The Dark Knight when you're playing it. It's fantastic. These deep rolling taikos, thudding low bass drums. It's just brilliant. And also Spitfire Albion. Now, this is actually an orchestral library that has strings, brass, woods, synths, and percussion. And the percussion in there is fantastic. It's really, really good, really clear, and you get to really mess around with the mics. And this, I just put this one as just a bit of a cheapie. The Epic Room Percussion is just great. It's really simple, really easy to use. And it's just nice to buy a cheapie one because most of these other ones are going to cost you between £200 and £300. Next up, we have strings and orchestral libraries. Again, I'm diving straight in there with Spitfire Audio because I absolutely adore their samples and I just think they sound amazing. And again, you get strings, you get everything. It's the whole orchestra here, with the exception of small percussion. So in the Spitfire Albion, you don't get the guiros, you don't get the cymbals, it's just big drums. Now these two, this next one I started with, East West Symphonic Orchestra. I actually think these are still fantastic. I still use them, and I would highly recommend you checking these out because they used to do a composer bundle, whether they do or not. And now I'm not sure the way you could get symphonic orchestra bundled up with loads of other stuff. And obviously, what they did with the symphonic orchestra was they took that idea and then made the Hollywood series. So they've got East West, Hollywood Strings, Hollywood Brass, Hollywood Winds. The Hollywood Strings are just the symphonic strings maxed out. They're very, very clear. So many articulations. I mean, almost too many for me. I don't really even use all of those articulations, but they're great. I mean, if you really want to get into detail with your string writing and your wind and brass writing, then I would recommend checking the Hollywood Strings out. Next one, Project Sam Symphobia. This is more of a pad bed. Beautiful pads. It's not so specific. There aren't loads of articulations. It's kind of like an Albion, Spitfire Albion. You get long and you'll get short notes, and that's pretty much it. But they sound so good, you don't even care. And then below we have Audio Bros LA Scoring Strings. Now this is quite an interesting one because the samples are so detailed to the point where there is tuning deviations. Yeah, there's also the opportunity to split your parts into divises. So you will get to have your first and second cello, your third, fourth cello, fifth, sixth cello, and it's just great. Because of that, the flexibility is amazing. I really like to use LA Scoring Strings for more intimate or more gritty sounding strings. And again, I thought I'd throw in a freebie here. This is Embertone's Intimate Strings. Now they do quite a few freebies. Again, this feels a bit more like LA Scoring Strings in that the tuning's a little bit wild sometimes, but it's a really nice sound. It doesn't sound like any other string library to me. It's got a very particular character to it. So well worth checking out, especially because it's free. Next up, brass. Now, my go-to brass, particularly for the fat, raspy trailer sound, is Hollywood Brass. If you want to sound like, the Hans Zimmer Inception soundtrack, then go for Hollywood Brass. Really fantastic. So much detail, so many articulations. Really good. Spitfire Audio Albion. Now their brass, it doesn't go for that sort of ballsy trailer sound. It's more, for me, I think it's designed more for sort of lyrical writing in the brass or pads, which is really nice. And I use that in conjunction with Hollywood Brass. East West Symphonic Orchestra, again, is the step down from Hollywood Brass. You've still got the lovely raspy sound, not quite as detailed, not quite as powerful, but considering you will get it in the bundle of East West Symphonic Orchestra with the strings, with the woods, with the percussion, it's well worth it. Really good. Synths. I only really use one synth for trailer writing, and that's Spectrasonics Omnisphere. It is absolutely beastly. It covers everything, and in the same way that Spectrasonics Trillion has really hammered the market, I feel like Omnisphere really covers all bases. I have tried other instruments, numerous synths. I think Native Instruments Massive is pretty good, but that's one of the reasons why I've also put in Native Instruments Complete. Now, this Complete, I've put it in synth, but actually it covers absolutely everything. You get pianos, you get epic drums, you get epic strings, you get orchestral, you get synths, you get pianos, you get tribal drums, you get all sorts of toys to play with. It is well worth the investment, Native Instruments Complete. And they've got a few lovely little synths in there. Next up, pianos. I went through a phase of just buying endless piano sample libraries because I love them. It makes me feel like I'm sat in a room playing an instrument. Some of them are just so great. So I've tried to list these ones here. I'm actually going to dive straight in for this cheap one here. It's a Spitfire Audio soft piano. Now that was released originally by Spitfire Audio as the felt piano, but they changed it to soft piano. It's donationware, so you pay, I think it's now £2 or £3, which is donated to a charity, and you get this amazing sample library for it. It's really simple. It's a felt piano, so it's the piano being played with the muting felt. I have written 5 albums just using this, and it is just a joy to play. I absolutely love it. Now for the trailer writing, I don't really use soft piano for trailer writing, except for sort of more unusual sounds. For my trailer writing, I use 2 instruments. The first one being Native Instruments Alicia's Keys, I should say. Wowzers, it's just so diverse. You can get that lovely, intimate, bluesy, jazzy sound, or you can get the sort of distant orchestral, or you can just get a really, really crisp and dry sound. It's brilliant, and you can adjust the sounds, and it's very, very light on your CPU too. That is actually part of Native Instruments Complete. So again, another yay for Complete. Next up, Pianotech. Now, this was one of my first adventures into piano libraries. Now, this is technically, it's not actually a sample library. It's a soft synth. So it's actually synthesized sounds, and that's why it's very CPU light. But the range they offer is really great, and the sounds are fantastic. You wouldn't think that they were actually not sampled. The 1990 Studio Grand by Adio, they are really detailed in the way they go about it, and this one's got great playability. So you can go from playing, it's actually got three modes, one with a sort of invented term. So you've got the legato playing, which is very soft and smooth, then you've got staccato, where the notes are purposely cut short, and they've called it, the next one, staccatissimo, which is really, really short notes, and it just sounds like you're playing sort of Steve Reich minimalist music on it. It's really cool, and you can switch the different mics, which you can do on a lot of these instruments as well. And the last one is Native Instruments, the Giant. I would probably go for this for the cinematic approach. It's a cinematic piano, so you can choose the overtones, you can choose the harmonics, you can choose just the noise of the keys. It's quite interesting and well worth a look. If I were to only have one, and this is probably where I would start, I would get Native Instruments Complete. It is literally complete. It has all the instruments you need. Yes, they're not necessarily the best ones, but that doesn't matter. I mean, some of my highest paying jobs have been using only the instruments that came with Logic. And one of my most successful pieces was just using the free samples in Reason. So it doesn't always equate, spending money on your samples doesn't always equate to getting higher paid work. Okay, so that is my run through of the tools of the trade that I use to create trailer music. If you would like a list of all those sample libraries, then you can download a worksheet below that contains links to where you can purchase them and walkthroughs of them, so you can hear them in action and see in more detail what they can do. There are obviously loads more, but these are the ones that I use, and I find them to be highly effective.